And I want to look at the logic behind solving proportions by cross-multiplying fractions. You're probably familiar with the technique of solving proportions this way. We set up fractions equal to each other, cross-multiply, and solve. But I want to look at why it is that this works. Let's suppose I make a paint mixture by mixing 1/3 of a cup of blue paint and 4 cups of white paint. I want to know how much blue we need for 6 cups of white. So I have 6 cups of white paint, and I need to know how much blue to mix in with it to make this color paint. Well, the common way to solve this is to set up a fraction. We have 1/3 of a cup of blue paint, 4 cups of white. So this fraction over here is blue over white. We set that equal to a fraction of the amount of blue over the amount of white. Well, there are 6 cups of white, and we don't know how many cups of blue, so I'm going to use a B to signify that. We would then cross-multiply. Multiply this way to get 1/3 times 6. Multiply this way to get 4 times B. Well, 1/3 times 6 is 2. And I can divide both sides by 4. And when I do, I get that B is equal to 1/2. So we would need 1/2 of a cup of blue paint. So now the question is, why is it that we can use this method and why does this work? In order to show that, let's break this problem down step by step. The first step is to set up the fractions 1/3 over 4 equal to B over 6. So why can we do that and what does it mean? Well, let's think of these fractions as representing division. So this one over here is 1/3 divided by 4. And this one over here is B divided by 6. Well, since each of these fractions has blue on the top and white on the bottom, then I can interpret both of these as the number of cups of blue for every 1 cup of white. So if we think about this in terms of unit rates, both of these represent the number of cups of blue for 1 cup of white paint. And since we want to use the same amount of blue paint per cup of white paint, either way, these two fractions should be equal to each other. So it does make sense to set these two fractions equal. The next thing we do is cross-multiply. 1/3 times 6 is equal to 4 times B. The method of cross-multiplying is just a shortcut for giving fractions a common denominator. So one of the ways I talked about to give a common denominator is to just multiply by the denominator of the opposite fraction. So I would multiply this one by 6. And I would multiply this one by 4, both of them being multiplied by the denominator of the other fraction. And now we can see that their denominators are equal, which means these two fractions are equal only when their numerators are equal. 1/3 times 6 is equal to B times 4. And from there, we can simply solve the equation to get the resulting answer. So we now have an idea why this cross multiplication actually works. It's essentially just finding common denominators for equivalent fractions.